From the banks of Dewey Lake, it's the Dewey Pod Monster.
All right, welcome back. My name is John, and this is the Dewey Pod Monster Podcast. We are, of course, your podcast about consumption. We are proud members of the You Run Podcast Network. You can find all of our old episodes, all of our new episodes, and all of the other amazing shows on the You Run Podcast Network at yourunpodcast.com. With me this week is the host of April and the Three, and his name is Sean. Sean, how are you doing today?
Talk to the hand.
God, I was really hoping you would find something other than that. Like
I was going to say anger is more useful than the spear, but
I mean, they're both. What you been watching this week, Sean?
Anger is more useful than the spear, John. I have a cornucopia of things. It's not even October or November, the harvest season, right? That's when people do the cornucopia thing. I am going to lead with a movie called Demon Warp. And it is a movie. You will never believe this. It stars first billed George Kennedy. And when a 1980s movie has George Kennedy as the top billing, it cannot be a bad movie. This movie, maybe I'll change your mind.
I always confuse this movie with Demon Wind, so I had to look it up. But then I remember this has shockingly the much better poster. So
is Demon Wind about like a fart or something?
No, it's been a while since I've watched it. It's about some demon that like kills horny teenagers or something like that. I don't know. I'd have to watch it again. So it's also 1980s trash and not great or insanely great, depending on your point of view.
So this movie is about a meteor that crashes to Earth in some remote area. I think it's supposed to be California. And then all of a sudden, this killer Bigfoot shows up, and the main people,
as you do,
as Bigfoot would do when meteors fall to Earth. The main cast really dwindles very quickly. So you start out with like 5 teenagers. Actually, start out with George Kennedy's daughter, who gets like she doesn't really get murdered. She gets scratched in her face and then like dragged away. And then the main cast are these, I think it's 5 different teens. And God, I can't remember the guy's name, but one of the main cast members is the guy that was in just one of the guys. He was in Parker Lewis Can't Lose, Mikey, the sidekick. He's been in a bunch of stuff, and I can't remember what his name is. He was in a lot of like 80s shows.
Just one of guys, the locker room, like the girl plays football locker room movie.
Yeah, and the cover has her holding 2 helmets over her boobs.
Yeah, just making sure I'm thinking of the right, just one of the guys.
Page, man. We got it. We got it under control. So, yeah, but the thing that it does great is that while the main cast got really soon, they introduce these rando people out of nowhere. There's even a pair of women who they're like treasure hunting or something in the woods. They're like looking for, I don't know, scavenger hunt or some shit. And one of them insists that if they're not going to find anything, they should at least get a good tan. So she takes off her shirt and she's topless for the rest of the time that she's alive. Some guy with a camera, who I thought the camera would be used to like take pictures of the Bigfoot, and they'd find the camera later, and that's how they can prove the Bigfoot is real. Takes a total, but nothing happens with that. The camera that guy gets wiped. And then the movie, like,
gets wiped, huh?
He just gets wiped. It is what it is. And yeah, I mean, there's a twist, right? It's not just about killer Bigfoots, big-footed people, humanoids. Anyways, so that's Demon Warp. Enough said about that. The next thing that I watched is actually something rather new, and I'd love to hear, John, what are your opinions on early Red Hot Chili Peppers?
I like them better, the early Red Hot Chili Peppers, more than the Californication and later Chili Peppers, but as a whole, like, not much. I'm assuming you watched the Netflix doc that just came out?
I did. I watched The Rise of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Our Brother Hillel, and it covers all the Hillel Slovak like period of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So it ends pretty much as John Frusciante comes in.
They're like a funk band, basically.
like a funk rock kind of thing. George Clinton is interviewed for a little bit. He has a little talking head deal. He produced their first or second album, something like that. And it's cool. There's a lot of documentary footage. There's a lot of like archival footage of them playing, like early days of them playing together. There were things that I didn't know about the band. Like I didn't know that Anthony Kiedis wasn't the original. Like he was just a hype man for the other bands that they were in before. And then they're like, hey, let's just all get together. It was Flea, Hillel, God, the drummer. Why can't I not remember any of these people? Oh, Jack Irons. Jack Irons. Before Chad Smith. And they're like, let's just get together and jam. And Anthony Kiedis, he comes on the mic, and they got a gig where they played one song or something like that. And they did the song, and everybody was like, whoa, this is amazing. So it tracks like their first band, Anthem, which was like their high school band. Anthony was just like the dancer, like Keith Flint of the group. Basically, if you don't know about the Prodigy, Keith Flint was like the dancer before he became a vocalist. And then it follows them up until them making a second band that was a little bit different. Anthem was more of like a cock rock kind of 70s style music band. Then this other band, What Is It, becomes like this, I don't know, more of like a rock band, but Hillel starts playing more of that like trademark Red Hot Chili Peppers like guitar style that he had. And then it follows the whole kind of end of him. The thing that I thought was really weird is that when I heard this doc, like I'm not a Red Hot Chili Peppers fan. I liked Blood Sugar Sex Magic, and that was like pretty much where it started and ended for me. Like I liked Higher Ground and some of the earlier stuff, like, you know, the stuff that I had heard when I was young, because I think I was like 11 when they got popular initially. And then, yeah, it was just, I don't know. It was, I had heard like that the documentary was coming out, and then the band had like disavowed stuff about like, yeah, we're not backing this documentary, whatever. But Flea and Anthony are in the thing. Like they're almost exclusively the people that talk. So Flea is in it a lot. So I was just kind of like, why did it was supposed to just be called Our Brother Hillel, or one of either the part before the colon or after the colon, either The Rise of the Red Hot Chili Peppers colon, or it was supposed to be called Our Brother Hillel. And they added the other part of the title after they were like, we don't want our names on this, basically. And I don't understand why they did it.
I mean, I don't know why either. I'm kind of surprised by that, because not so much Anthony Kiedis, but Flea is pretty outspoken, to say the least. Like he pops up on all kinds of stuff, regardless of genre or how much I think he should or shouldn't be there, which is really just me not liking the Chili Peppers. I will say that band probably does have a really interesting backstory, just because, especially at that time, like what sounded like that band. Yeah. And they came up in such a like charged scene, because I know they like hung out with a lot of people in like the punk crowd and stuff like that. Cause I know they're close friends with, like, if you listen to guys like Keith Morris and Fat Mike and guys like Flea's around a lot. So
Flea played for Fear.
They might not have been I didn't know there you go. Like, and yeah, and that's, I'm sure, although I don't think anyone, or at least I wouldn't call the Chili Peppers a punk band per se. Not that it really matters, like what you call them, but they definitely were around that scene enough that I'm sure they have some interesting stories. One, because they sounded different, and two, just because there was so much going on in that scene at that time.
Yeah, Anthony Kiedis doesn't come across at the best, so maybe that's why. And the big controversy around this is there's
how's his foot? Is his foot healed since Point Break?
I was like, what are you talking about? They didn't show him walking, so I'm assuming he was fine, but you never know. The thing that
doesn't have that foot.
The thing that was the controversial thing surrounding this documentary is that Hillel's journals were used in the movie, and they have an AI. His voice is like AI-ified, and it reads parts of the journal, which it sounds fine. Like if I don't know him from Adam, right? I don't know him from A Hole in the Ground, so it doesn't make a big difference either way to me. But I could see it being
right,
dicey or kind of controversial. All right, so the next thing, I'll move on to the last thing. I watched this amazing movie from 1991 called Street Wars. It's directed by Jama Fanaka. And you might not know that name. Maybe if you are like a video store dweller like you and I were, you probably have seen the covers for the movies Penitentiary. There's Penitentiary 1 and Penitentiary 2. There's even a 3. And it's a picture. It looks like a guy that looks like Sugar Ray Leonard punching through like a jail house or jail cell bars. Anyways, this movie is basically about the drug war in LA.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. See, I knew you'd know. Once you looked up the cover, you'd know what I was talking about. Jama Fanaka is the director of that and the writer. He's the director writer of this. This movie is about South Side of LA crack dealer. He's killed, and his brother goes to avenge his death against the North Side crack dealer. How quaint. the main character.
As you do.
Yeah, of course, as you do. His name is Sugar Pop. That's like, I think his name is actually Charles, but everybody calls him Sugar Pop in the credits. He's listed as Sugar Pop, IMDb, Sugar Pop. It's the only movie he's ever done, which, surprise, surprise. So he's got this bright future. He's supposed to be going off to West Point. He graduates military high school, and he gets caught up in this gang drug war. And his gimmick is that he flies around in like a powered hang glider. They're actually called microlights, but they look like it looks like you're sitting on a hang glider basically with a fan behind you. And he's like, he enlists all his other gang buddies, his brothers, lieutenants and whatnot, to fly these things. And they fire Uzis out of these things. And the quote is, "Whoever controls the air controls the streets." Like, I don't know how that works, but that's what they say. He just the way that the training montage of how these guys learn how to fly this thing, he just lets them go. Like, no training. Just, fly up 500 feet in the air and see if you can land, and there's people like these cuts of people like, whoa, 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 doing all these crazy maneuvers and stuff. He just tells them over the radio.
Does anyone wipe out?
No, nobody dies from the training, which I would have thought they would have. It's like the lowest of low budget movies. Lots of fantastical ideas, lots of 80s off-brand like hip hop and R&B. Almost everybody is dubbed with a ridiculous voice. They don't even look like they match the people that it's supposed to be. It's dumb as fuck, but you should go and watch it. I'll just leave you with this bonus. It has a rap at the end of the movie that raps about what the movie's about. So it's
always
good.
A fan.
It's always a good thing. So John, that's what I watched this week. How about you?
Yeah, so I watched some crap and some good stuff. Good thing. I'll start with the crappiest of the crap. I'm thumbing through Tubi and I come across a movie called Titanic 2000. I'm like, what the movie Titanic needed is a sequel.
I think I saw that.
And it is not a direct sequel to Titanic. It's basically its alternate title is Scary Sexy Disaster Movie. It's basically just a TNA movie which takes place on a boat and for some reason has vampires.
Oh,
entirely know why the vampires showed up.
Okay.
Every fucking scene is green screened on this, and you get better green screen work from your high school musical play, I'm sure, because I'm sure they could do that in high school now because people have MacBooks and stuff. It's so fucking terrible. I'm like, it's pretty bad when like there's literally a pair of boobs like every other minute in this movie, and I'm so bored and annoyed that I put this on. So that's a thing if you want to watch that.
Not the Titanic 2 that I saw, unfortunately.
There's a different Titanic 2 that I'm hoping to somehow stumble on at some point, because I'm sure that's also equally terrible, but hopefully a little less just garbage green screen. But I got a feeling garbage green screen might be a recurring theme by the end of the day. Speaking of garbage and dubbing, how sometimes you clickbait onto a list. It's like 10 worst blah, blah, blahs ever. Well, I clicked on the link that said 10 worst zombie movies of all time. It's like, let's fucking challenge that. I don't know if I believe that. And most of it was like Resident Evil 8, or I don't even know how many of those are on. Yeah. Just really like new shit that I'm like, I don't even care about that. The one movie that was worth my time, apparently, was 1981's Burial Ground, which is a terrible, it's not that bad actually. It's a really bad zombie movie. You probably have. This seems like something I could see you watching. Like, it's just fucking dumb. But as far as being one of the 10 worst zombie movies I've seen, it didn't earn that. So this is what this movie does have. It starts with like some horny chick who's in some lingerie. It's got a really great dub line where the guy comes out to like meet her and he's like, "You look just like a little whore, and I like that." And they start fucking, only for her kid to come in and like cockblock him, which is annoying. And that comes back in a lot of weird ways throughout the movie. Like, there's straight up like zombie incest in this movie. I'm like, oh, didn't see that coming. But the only other thing I really noticed with is all these zombie like prosthetics that they have people wearing. It's one of two things. They're either so shitty that they just rub dirt on their face, or they put these giant like plastic Mardi Gras heads on them where their mouths don't move. I'm like, so these are zombies. Like, don't their mouths need to do like chomps and stuff? Or yeah, no, they just look shitty. And that was actually one of the things I kind of laughed at with it, is just how shitty the zombies look. They all I mean, you think Night of the Living Dead zombies are slow? Watch Burial Ground. These zombies are like the slowest fucking zombies to ever zombie. Like, it's ridiculous. You could stop these guys with like a well-placed stick. That's how slow they're moving.
I am a fan of the zombie makeup of just rub some dirt on your face. I do actually kind of like that.
Oh, yeah. I sometimes prefer that to the overdone shit like what the rest of these are. Like, the overdone stuff is fun because you're like, really? That's what we went with. So it has its own comedic element to it. But I agree with you. Like, if you're not gonna get the Sphenie or the Nicotaro or whatever to go to fully do like good zombie effects, you're almost better off just rubbing some dirt on it and using shitty lights. And this movie is well lit, so that doesn't help it in any way, shape, or form. Or well lit by 1989 standards for like a shitty movie like this. But yeah, and I also noted that this might have the worst kid actor that I've ever seen. Like, this kid is so fucking dumb and so fucking obnoxious that eventually when he gets his, you're like, yeah. But then they, bring him back as a zombie. I'm like, God, he's even worse as a fucking zombie. Like, that's not supposed to happen. So, Burial Ground, yeah. 10 worst zombie movies ever? No. Good zombie movie? Also no. But like I said, it definitely doesn't earn one of the 10 worst ever, for sure. And then I decided to switch it up and watch a movie that's actually good, which this is a revisit, but I haven't watched it in a while. I'm assuming you've seen Jackie Brown, right?
I have. It's been a while, though.
So it's been a while for me, too, and I don't even remember what I was watching it on, but I was like, God, I haven't watched this in a while. I remember liking this. I went into it thinking, like, wasn't this the movie that Tarantino didn't write, which is not exactly true. He adapted it from some book. Rum Punch by Elmore Leonard. So if you want to read about it, go read Rum Punch. I guess the author was actually pretty happy about it, but I kind of wish we had gotten more, for lack of better wording, traditional movies out of Tarantino, because this, by Tarantino standards, feels very traditional. There's a clear-cut good guy, a clear-cut set of bad guys. It's a linear story. Like, we're not jumping all over the fucking timeline. And really, it's not that we don't know this about Tarantino, especially at this point, but it really just shows him getting really, really great performances out of a lot of really great actors. I mean, Pam Grier fucking kills it in this movie. Sam Jackson at this point, I mean, this is after Pulp Fiction, so he's probably like blowing up at this point, but I don't think he was quite the household name that he is. Like, he wasn't doing Capital One commercials at this point or anything like that. And he's great in this. They even made me like okay with Chris Tucker, who he usually annoys the shit out of me, and he doesn't annoy me in this movie. So yeah, just the whole thing from start to finish, it looks great. It uses music really, really well for a movie that I know I saw this multiple times many years back, and it just kind of gone, not forgotten about, just, it is a 2.5 hour movie. So it's not something that you're just always going to go back to and sit on or whatever, but it felt good to revisit it. And it kind of made me miss like vintage Tarantino movies. And again, I like most of his new stuff too, but there's a definite difference between I'd say his first 3 movies and Kill Bill and everything after. Like, there's a notable difference there. And just going back to that era, that early Tarantino where he was still kind of figuring himself out, it's kind of refreshing. Any thoughts on Jackie Brown?
It's great. I know a lot of people weren't, I don't know, when it came out, it didn't get a lot of, I feel maybe this is an incorrect memory, but I feel like when it came out, it didn't get a lot of love because people were expecting the next Pulp Fiction or the next whatever. But yeah, I really liked it. I've always been a big fan of that movie.
Yeah, I remember when it came out, like it didn't get the buzz that pretty much any of his movies got. The only one I could think of that really didn't get buzz aside from that would be Grindhouse or Death Proof or whatever you want to call it. Like, those are the only 2 that stick out to me that didn't have like that Tarantino shine on them. And I like both those movies for different reasons. But I feel like I said a lot of the same things when we talked about what was it? True Romance last year, which was kind of the opposite. Like, didn't he write that and not direct it, if I'm remembering right? Kind of the same thing. Like, I wish we would have seen him do more things that are outside of like what we've gotten to know him as, because it seems like he's pretty good at them. And maybe him just having, again, grain of salt here, because I like when he has total control over a project and does exactly what he wants to do also. But maybe sometimes him being a little more dialed back is also a good thing. So yeah, Jackie Brown, worth watching. If you haven't seen it, check it out. If you have seen it, might be time to revisit it.
I mean, you could do worse than Elmore Leonard too. He's a great American crime writer.
Is he?
Yeah.
I don't really know him that much of him. So
very highly regarded.
Well, see. Again, I didn't know that Tarantino had it in him to actually adapt something that he didn't write and not totally should. I found something that said like these are the major points that he changed, and it sounds like it's pretty not detrimental to anything with it. I don't know. I dug it. So, but I think that's all I got right now. I think it's time to switch gears and start so we have a theme again because we're torturing ourselves. Crummy Movie March is the best month ever, period, under any circumstance. So we couldn't do this in the third month of the year because we have priorities. So for the fourth month of the year, we're going to be talking about threequels all month, and we're going to start fresh off Terminator knockoff month with Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines. So we're going to take a break and come back and talk about the first of many threequels over the next couple of weeks.
Hi, everyone. AI John here. If you're a horror fan like me, check out the Fans of the Dead podcast. Mike and Jeremy dedicate every episode to a horror film, from the popular to the unknown. You can get their takes on some of the movies we've talked about, including Terrifier, The Burning, and Ghostbusters. Head over to youronpodcast.com to check them out and all the other members of the You Run Podcast Network.
Maybe you've heard, maybe you haven't. But we've got a Patreon now.
Another Patreon? Really?
Well, yeah, but this one is different.
How could this possibly be different?
Well, first off, you get episodes early, and we have Discord.
Everybody has a Discord thing. I thought you said this was different.
Well, it's not just that we've got a Discord, but we've got different stuff on the Discord.
Okay, I'm listening. What else?
Look, this read is already getting to be too long, and I'm running out of AI credits. So if you want to know all the perks of joining our Patreon, check it out at patreon.com/DeweyPodMonster for all the details. Go check it out.
All right, so we're back, and like we said before the break, we're going to be talking about the movie Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, or T3 for the rest of this, because I don't want to read that whole title over and over again. We're going to start with a third-party review. I brought two. They're both relatively short. The first one is on Letterboxd, and it's from Adam Bolt, and he says, "Why does this movie hate cars so much?" 3 out of 5 stars, which is fair. There is a lot of car damage in this. And then over on Rotten Tomatoes, IA says, and I only say this because wherever IA is from, apparently punctuation does not exist.
Got to pay for that.
"Bad movie, dog. This kind of bad movie like Die Hard and The Rock never will be good as superheroes movie. 0.5 star out of 5.
That must be from Immense.
So now that we have IA and Adam Bolt's response to this wonderful piece of cinema. Sean, do you want to tell us what Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines is all about, as I say the full title again?
Yeah, so I go to imdb.com. That's where I always source my information from. I type in the words Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines. It brought up this movie called Titanic 2 for some reason, so I got to close that window. We're going to look at this one. It's got Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's from 2003. It gets an R rating. It's an hour and 49 minutes. It gets a 6.3 out of 10 with, get this, John, 436,000 ratings. It is on the popularity scale. So I don't really remember the last time we talked about a movie that was on the popularity scale, but this one,
it's been a while.
Yeah, this one is, it has a red down arrow. It's at 2458 out of some number that's down 119 points from some other number. I don't even know why this would be in the zeitgeist, like why this would be something that people are looking at. But anyways, we go to this thing at the top. We're never quite sure if it's a storyline or the plot, but they wouldn't put it on the top. If it wasn't supposed to be read first, it says, John Connor must face a female Terminator with power over all the machines. But a new Terminator unit, a T-850, is sent back through time to help guide him through the coming battle. And then we scroll on down to the storylines, and I'm going to, there's a few in here. I'm going to pick this one because this guy, he's a constant contributor, Nick Reganis. Nick Reganis, thank you very much for writing in and giving us this storyline. It says, living off-grid, 10 long and challenging years after the encounter with the liquid metal killer in Terminator 2 Judgment Day, the resilient survivor and now 23-year-old vagabond, John Connor, knows that these are dark and uncertain times. For the third time, the self-aware computer network Skynet sends another cyborg assassin, this time its most efficient and technologically perfect model, the gynoid-like TX. I don't know what a gynoid is, but anyways, the TX.
I was going to ask, what's a gynoid?
To terminate the future leader of the humans. However, the Resistance too has sent a protector, the reprogrammed but long obsolete T-101. Once more, the future is hanging by a thread, and this time it's either us or the cold robots. Is humankind prepared for the rise of the machines? Question mark. Nope.
A gynoid is a humanoid robot designed to resemble a female human, acting as a female counterpart to be an android. So I guess that's fairly accurate.
Yeah. I don't like how these different
Sean, who are the
storylines and synopsises and synopsi are calling Arnold different things now. Like we have the T-850. Nick Reganis says the T-101. I thought he was the T-800. I was like writing stuff about this. I'm like, we're just going to call him Arnold. Anyways, John, you were saying?
For the record, I don't feel like there's a notable difference between the T-800 and the T-850. There's like one thing that he does in this movie that feels dramatically different as far as model Terminators, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a feeling we'll get to that. Before we do, Sean, who are some of the people that are in this movie?
All right. So for that, we go through the cast. First off, we're going to talk about Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's the T-101, T-850. He's the Terminator guy, the original Terminator. We talked about him, of course. He's a alumni of our show.
He's a mainstay.
Okay. We talked about him in Raw Deal, End of Days, Terminator, Terminator 2. He's also been in Commando. He's in The Last Action Hero, Total Recall, Predator, The Running Man. The hits go on and on. Maybe you've heard of him. We have Nick Stahl, who plays John Connor. I know him mostly from Carnival. He was in Sin City. He's been in multiple series, seasons, whatever, of Fear the Walking Dead. We have Kristanna Loken. She plays TX, or the Terminatrix. She was in Blood Rain, In the Name of the King, A Dungeon Siege. And John, note for future reference, we need to cover more, or at least some, Uwe Boll movies, like Blood Rain and Name of the King, A Dungeon Siege.
We've read that before.
Yeah, I know. So. To each other. Then we have Claire Danes, plays Kate Brewster. She was in My So-Called Life. She was in Homeland, Romeo and Juliet, The Mod Squad. We have Earl Bowen. He reprises his role as Dr. Silberman. He was obviously in T1, T2, and now T3. He's been in a ton of shit like Naked Gun 33 and a Third. He was in one of John's favorite movies, Chopper Chicks and Zombie Town. And he's been in a ton of things as a voice actor. We have MC Gainey, who shows up for like 5 seconds. He's the Roadhouse bouncer. He was in Con Air, Breakdown, Club Dread, Django Unchained, Lost, and a bunch of other stuff. And this movie was directed by Jonathan Mostow, who also directed a movie that I particularly enjoyed, Breakdown. He directed the Bruce Willis vehicle Surrogates, and that's pretty much all that I really recognized.
Okay. So that's a lot of people for a movie. Good thing this movie's a little bit over an hour and a half to give them all their time they need.
Yep, all their due. All their propers.
So I feel like this one's worth getting into. I already know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask you anyway for the benefit of the people who aren't part of this two-person conversation. Sean, as the resident Terminator fanboy of this show, arguably more so than me, probably definitely more so than me. Is this your first experience with Terminator 3, or do you have I'm sure you have some history with it, or at least I would think you're probably aware of it. So what are your thoughts on this one going into this episode?
As much as I want to joke and say that I've never heard of this movie, I'll just say that I have never seen this movie until today. Or I'm sorry, when we watched it for this week. I didn't watch it today.
And I feel like I can take a guess as to why, but was there anything in particular that steered you clear of it?
It just looked dumb. Like, I didn't like that. I didn't like that it was supposed to be 10 years in the future. They kind of ended it at T2. It didn't need to be, they didn't need to make more of it at the time in 2003 when this came out. I was a surly, 20 something. And I was like, they don't need to do this. I don't know. It just looked dumb. Like I thought they were repaving over a road that didn't need to be repaired. That's kind of how I looked at it.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way with it. I'm sure I said it when we talked about Terminator 2 last year. I think. Yeah, last year. But I feel like Cameron really went out of his way to tie up the Terminator story in as much of a neat little bow as you possibly could and try to close the door on any more Terminator. Obviously, there was plenty of potential for more Terminator because we got a lot more. But, if they talked about bringing him back for this movie, that didn't work out. We got other dude, fucking Mostow or whatever. But when this movie was coming out, I know I didn't see this in a theater because like you, I was like, that looks stupid. I don't want to see that really. I'm pretty sure I still made a point of whether it was watching it on cable at some point on like an HBO weekend or something or renting it. I know I saw this before. I remember wanting to watch like the hot Terminator chick and thinking that will be good. Maybe, well, in some ways, but I agree with you. I went into this like, this is probably an unnecessary movie and you're probably just going to shit all over the remnants of Terminator 2. And maybe they do, maybe they don't. We'll probably get into that. Let's start on the positive side though. And I'll kick us off on this. There are some things that are positives in this. I think at the heart of it, this to me is the first like major summer blockbuster of this generation. And what I mean by that is you could almost forget about the Terminator movies that came before this. This is literally just a set piece for massive stunts and explosions and gunfights and all that stuff. It almost could exist without, I mean, there is a story here and the story is something, but if you didn't have the Terminator story, if this movie was literally just Arnold in this game of cat and mouse between Arnold and the TX for an hour and 50 minutes and all these same things happened and we got to the same end point and you just change characters' names from John Connor to Sean Bomber or something like that, I don't think we would have that radically of a different movie. So I think in a lot of ways, this movie is kind of what really laid the groundwork to what summer blockbusters would become and kind of says a lot about why I think so many summer blockbusters are fucking boring now because they're all kind of a carbon copy of this.
Yeah, I mean, I never really thought of it that way, but that makes I can get on board with that. It kind of sounds like that's pretty spot on actually. It's like very cookie cutter, very like you said. The characters could be named. They don't even have to be these people because obviously. So like just a little bit of backstory. The Terminator was sent, the TX was sent back and not only to kill John Connor at this point, but to kill these people at the time. You don't know why, but there's like 8 people and they're all like supposed to be
they
his
say
lieutenants.
There's 12. They show you 12. 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they're supposed
they
to be,
say 12 later in the movie, but they show you 8 when she's doing her initial,
calling the school board to get the the hacking.
Her target acquired thing or whatever.
Yeah. So she's there to eliminate the lieutenants, basically the leaders underneath John Connor. And as a result of that, John Connor almost becomes, I mean, he when she notices him, he becomes a prime target, but that's not really her mission. Her mission's not necessarily just to take him out. So I can definitely see where you're coming, where it's kind of like, this is the formula. Explosions, gunfights, stunts. Some story, explosions, gunfights, stunts. So yeah, I mean, it
throw
really,
a hot chicken there, doesn't hurt.
Yeah. And it does really start to set this template for like what we're going to be watching for our blockbuster movies for the next however long. I mean, we're still
20 years so far.
Yeah, we're still like living in the
years
same
and
thing.
Counting.
Yeah, we're still doing the same thing over and over again. For likes, I'll get in and I'll say, I thought for the most part, I mean, there are some effects here and there that don't look great, but I thought for the most part, the effects look pretty good. The practical stunt work, and there is a lot of practical stunts. There are a lot of digital effects. There are a lot of green screens, as you kind of alluded to earlier, but the practical stunts that are on, and specifically the driving stunts, for me, are super impressive, especially when it's a real car. There are times I'm sure, well, I can think of the crane scenes in specificity that are clearly
I
not.
love the crane scene because it's just so much for a movie like this. And we're talking about a movie that I just said is the template for summer blockbusters. To have for those who haven't seen this movie, you might want to like block your ears for about 20 seconds because this is like one of the only parts you probably don't want spoiled for you. Anyway, just watching this crane go up and just fuck up like an entire city block, it leaves you kind of like, as a, horrible human, I'm laughing like they're fucking doing that, which is usually something we get out of much smaller movies on a much smaller scale. There's usually still the explosions or like something done like on a miniature. This looks like they built a giant set of a city and just fucked it up. And I was like, well, that's pretty fucking entertaining.
I do like that they start this movie when they show Arnold. His introduction is another bar scene, which is what we got from part 2 when he goes in the bar and he beats up all the people in the bar. I like that this one, he goes up and it's like, oh, this bar, and he walked the bouncer is MC Gainey, as I mentioned earlier, and he gets kind of like roughed up a little bit. And he's like, you're supposed to go around to the back, and you don't really understand why until he walks in and you see it's like a bachelorette party or like some, ladies' night, it says on there. And
yeah,
the guy on stage is dancing and he's like, hey, give me your clothes. Arnold does the typical give me your clothes routine. And the guy's like, talk to the hand. And he happens to be a perfect fit. I thought that was really a good way to kind of, and complete. Let me just finish, like complete with the star-shaped sunglasses. It's a really funny way that flips the expectation that he's gonna be this badass guy that goes into this bar, beats up all these people, takes the clothes, leaves, and gets off on the Harley and like I expected there almost to be another bad to the bone kind of moment,
shot for shot.
Yeah. But have it be this like other expectation. They didn't do that, which is fine. It's almost better that they didn't do it, because if they would have totally, I don't know, it would have. I think we'll get into it, but it would have almost been. I know I'll get into it. It would have almost been a little bit too much, like too on the nose for them to replicate the same scene and instead have it be this like other titillating way. But this way, it was, I thought it was entertaining, at least for that part. So it set up that opening part of the movie for me was like, okay, I'm on this ride. I want to see where the ride takes me, and was willing to kind of open myself up to it.
I also like with this movie that it has little, very small touches of this, and it obviously has some this is the third movie in the series, so it has to refer back to the first two to some extent. I don't feel like this movie is beat you over the head with nostalgia the way that a lot of these movies turn into now. I like the quick little cameo of Earl Bowen when he comes back, to the point where I was like, is that the same doctor from fucking T2? Like, I forgot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wasn't 100. He looks just different enough that I'm like, I had to check. So there's enough things that kind of give you that little like bump of nostalgia without totally clubbing you over the head with it repeatedly. This movie does try to expand on the Terminator mythos, I guess. I'm not sure it does good with it, but it does at least try to progress the idea of what the Terminator story is. Now, again, we're going to talk more about that, I know, but I'll give the movie credit. Like, you're coming off of like not even just one of the best like sequels of all. You're coming off one of the best movies of all time, one of the two best movies of all time. The idea to think that you can one up Terminator 2 and Terminator, I mean, I would have loved it if they did it, but let's be real, that probably wasn't gonna fucking happen. So the fact that they at least went for it and tried to do some new things, tried to expand the storyline with it, I'm okay with that. There's a lot of like sequences too, like the chase scenes are fine. I don't have any real complaints with those. I don't have any major complaints with the effects. There are points where they look kind of shitty, but I think I'm saying they look shitty now with 2026 glasses as opposed to looking at it with 2003 glasses. If you try to take it back and be like, this is from 2003, like, there's a couple spots where it looks a little goofy, specifically if someone is either getting hit by a car or a helicopter, or maybe should have gotten hit by a car and the car miraculously missed them, even though it was on top of them. There's a couple things like that that's like, that looks pretty stupid. But you're looking at it with like new technology, like you have to kind of grain of salt it a little bit. Like it's certainly not anything so egregious that it takes you out of the movie, at least not for the most part. And I do feel like the majority of it, I'm saying that looks bad because I've seen what happened 23 years later, not so much because like, I don't think it's fair to say this movie looks shitty.
Yeah.
Effects wise, like for whatever else with it.
I want to touch on two things.
And this is where I'm going to kind of,
I want to touch on two things you said. I want to touch on that. I do appreciate, and I didn't write it down here, but I do appreciate that it's not like, hey, remember this? Hey, remember that? Remember you did that in the last movie? Remember that thing? Yeah, we're going to do, hey, remember, hey, you know, like going over the top to point out things that they're referring back to. The other thing that Earl Bowen, the Dr. Silberman scene where they're in the cemetery and that's when he gets the coffin full of the guns. Arnie gets the coffin full of the guns, and Dr. Silberman kind of looks around. He's like, oh, no, you know, hey, it's all going to be okay, to Claire Danes' character, to Kate. He's like, it's fine. You'll be okay. And then he kind of like looks around the corner and he sees that it's Arnold with the guns. And he just like, okay. And he just like, takes off, and you can see him running in behind through the window. Like it's not focused on or anything. He just runs off the side of the, you know, the set, whatever you want to call it, the set, and then books it off. And I thought that was like a really nice touch. But I think you were going to start getting to your complaints.
Yeah, I think this is as good a time to pivot to negatives as any, because I mean, the others, whatever, firing shots right out the gate. Yeah. This is the biggest problem I have with this movie is John Connor fucking sucks in this movie. Nick Stahl sucks. He is not good in this movie. Has no charismatic like energy to him. He has absolutely zero chemistry with this Kate Brewster, who is supposedly going to be his wife. The whole, and again, spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen this, 23-year-old movie at this point.
We're being real nice, but we're not going to be able to hold back any spoilers anymore. I'm sorry. If you haven't seen this, we're going to shit on it.
The whole subplot that John and Kate are going to get married at some point in the future, mixed in with Kate's husband getting fucking murdered. We don't even get to see his murder. We just see a little blood splatter.
Yeah.
And there's no chemistry with them to start with. And they never quite warm, like, I guess they kind of warm up to each other in like I guess I have to work with you or die kind of way. But you never feel like these people like each other or want to be in the same room with each other or have any type of romantic chemistry there. So it kind of makes the whole fucking, basically anyone who's not Arnold or the TX on screen, you're like, God, just get back to fucking Arnold and TX fighting each other or whatever, because this subplot sucks. And I don't know if you feel that way. We can ping pong back and forth. I'm sure we'll have plenty of things to complain about, but thoughts on John Connor specifically and his relationship with his, or lack thereof, with his future wife.
I don't really have a problem with any of the chemistry. It's not so much even a chemistry thing. It's not, I don't have any vendetta against Nick Stahl. I think the thing for me is that the John Connor that comes out of T2 is not this character, or at least it doesn't feel like it. He almost feels like he knows his stuff. Right. He knows, I go in the veterinary office. I got to get this medicine because I got to stay off the grid, blah, 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 blah. But he just seems kind of limp dick in comparison to what you would imagine. And I understand that going through all this is supposed to postpone the events of the future. The T2 resolution pushes Judgment Day even further, or the rise of the machines, Skynet. And then that changes John Connor. But, then there's timeline wackiness with Linda Hamilton's character, Sarah Connor, dying, and it's like the time doesn't really work. It's just my complaints about this movie aren't really the performances that are on the screen. My big complaints with this movie are more of kind of how the intelligence level that they treat the audience with. Like they treat you like you're a fucking idiot. and the leaps of logic and the things that don't make sense. But you know, the things that don't make sense really don't make sense. Like for me, the Terminatrix.
Yeah. Are you gonna talk about the drive-through with the drive-through window on the wrong side of the fucking car? Because that pissed me off too.
I wasn't going to mention that, and I did notice, and it's weird, but that wasn't even close to being any of the issues that I had. So the Terminatrix comes out.
It's in the first like 3 minutes of the movie, so I was like, I'm pissed already.
Yeah.
So,
oh shit. So the Terminatrix, her big thing is that she's like liquid metal with a skeleton as well, but it can be liquid metal. So I don't know. Whatever. Fuck it. Who cares? Anyways.
I feel like her powers are like whatever she needs to be for this particular scene. That's
Precisely.
what we're going to power her up to.
The thing that she's supposed to be able to do is she can transform her arm into a gun. She's supposed to be able to control machines. She's supposed to be able to do things, scan people's faces. When she goes early in the movie, when she goes to the veterinary clinic because John Connor's broken in to steal the medicine, Kate Brewster is a veterinarian. That's her clinic. She goes in, catches them. A client comes in with their cat, it's sick, whatever. The Terminatrix, the TX, I'm sorry, knows what Kate Brewster looks like. She walks in, the lady's on the ground. She's dying because she got shot, the lady with the cat that brought her cat in. The Terminatrix goes over, doesn't recognize her. Oh, is that Kate? Oh, I don't know. Let me taste her blood. That's how I can tell. Nope, that's not her. That's somebody else. Oh, there's a bloody rag here. Oh, that's John Connor. I have to taste it. Like, that's so fucking stupid. You can see them. The other thing, I'm just going to get my complaints out of the way. The other thing is that the Terminatrix can control machines. She only sends 4 cars, and it only works for that one part. Okay, they're doing the truck scene, you know, whatever. They're chasing the through the city streets, the 2 police cars, the ambulance, the fire truck. They're chasing shit. Dumb.
She can control machines. Why does she feel the need to pull over for the cop and give herself a boob job before he like presumably gets killed or lets her go? Why doesn't she just turn his car off and keep going?
I don't know. And the other thing, she can look like anybody she wants. Why does she touch that old stupid lady with the gross outfit, the leather outfit? That thing is the most unflattering outfit of any quote unquote villain that I've ever seen in my life. Why would you look like that? And then once they know what you look like, why wouldn't you just like some random person be like, oh, hey, oh, are you okay? I'm a paramedic. Are you, stab him.
I mean,
why wouldn't you do that? We had this kind of
make that argument with
T2.
I was gonna say you could kind of make I feel like they did it better in T2. Like they almost they used it more where they made them look like different things. But same complaint.
And the last two that I'm going to use, I'm going to touch on the crane, the truck with the crane on it. It's indestructible. It can drive through the city block and it doesn't stop. There's no problems with it. Everybody else's car is shit. The other thing, they want to prove to Kate that the T-101 is from the future. It's a robot. So she shoots it. She's like, no. She shoots it and Arnold catches the bullet in his mouth and he spits it out. He's like, don't do that. All he has to do is lift his shirt up. He just cut a huge chunk out of his chest where you can see the skeleton underneath. Look, lady, I'm a robot. Believe me. This isn't makeup. It's just
you think she didn't notice you mean she didn't notice the nuclear explosion like 200 yards behind them as he threw a fucking nuclear hand grenade out the fucking car?
Right.
That she's in the bed of a pickup truck just getting thrown around.
And they blow through it, the fallout just like blows right through them, all the dust and all the impact. And they're just like, oh,
yeah, that's fine.
Whoops. We drove off the road for a second. Sorry about that, lady. We'll get back to you.
Bumpy road.
So, yeah. Whatever.
Yeah. I'm not sure how I felt about the whole upgrade of just giving him 2 randomly placed like nuclear detonators in his gut for reasons that apparently are very fragile in a spot where you would probably get hit moderately frequently. I thought that was dumb. For the most part, I feel like Arnold's pretty good in this movie, but there's things that they have his character do that I think is dumb. Like I hate when she reprograms Arnold and kicks his head off or whatever. Arnold just like a Looney Tunes episode, just like plops it back on and gives it a quick turn. He's like he's good to go, except he's acting multi-personality disorder Arnold for like 2 seconds there. Although it looks kind of funny in like a ridiculous way, I hate the fake out like I'm gonna intentionally miss you then beat the shit out of this pickup truck So are you telling me that Arnold, the T-8 whatever he is in this movie, who's been a robot for this entire fucking franchise to this point, I'm assuming he's a robot the entire franchise all the way through. I haven't seen all of them, so I don't know. So this robot has emotion now and is just going to have like a little rage fest beating the shit out of a car like he's, you know, your dad who's mad that you drank his beer and is punching holes in the drywall or something. Like, come on.
You sound like
That's
you speak
fucking
from experience,
ridiculous.
John.
I might. Yeah, I thought that was dumb. I mean, again, there's so many like scenes in this movie that it's like the whole bathroom fight between the two of them where they're like heave-hoeing each other through walls and toilets and whatnot. It's moderately entertaining for what it is.
Yeah.
But you have all this other shit going on in that scene. You have, you know, the fucking RoboCop droid, Ed.
Going on.
Yeah, Ed 209 rolling around, fucking up the rest of this military base. And he's more concerned about fighting her at the... It feels try hard, for lack of better wording. Like, for a movie with this much shit that's going on, this much shit blowing up, and this much action going on in it, it just feels boring, kind of, at times, which is, again, kind of a signature of the new summer blockbuster. So,
yeah. I mean, a couple other just like minor things that I have are like it seems like they got to a point in the movie and they kind of stopped doing this, but they did up until like even the crane scene. There's a few things where they use Looney Tunes like sound effects to punctuate action, which is just like, this isn't a cartoon. Like, why are you? Yeah.
Go ahead. You can finish. I forgot. I remember one of the things I didn't like.
Well, that was it. Like, I didn't like that it just felt like this is not a comedy. You know, I mean, you're trying to add
that's
some
where I was
irreverence
gonna
or
go.
something to it, but why?
So, on the one hand, I feel like the Terminator movies always had little bits of humor in it.
Of course.
Like the relationship between John Connor and the T-800 in the previous movie had a lot of funny moments in it. And I'm not remembering any in the first one right now, but I'm sure they're there. I mean, at
it's
the
a little
moment
bit more
don't
of
have them in my head.
It's more of a serious kind of.
It's more of a horror
Yes.
movie than
Yeah.
the second one. But the humor in this movie, and I know you mentioned the talk to the hand thing, which comes up a couple times. It's the one thing in this movie that I feel like Arnold really phoned in was the humor side of this.
Yeah.
Like it almost, the look on his, and I know he's a robot or he's trying to be a robot, but the look on his face is just like, I don't care about this. And it feels
Wait, do I cash my check?
It just, yeah, it doesn't land for me at any point. Like any of the jokes that they have just feel really cringy. They don't build the relationship back up between John and the Terminator to earn any of those humorous exchanges. And when they do them, they feel really forced and stupid. And furthermore, why the fuck does John think there's not an assembly line of Terminators? Why does he assume that this is the exact same Terminator? Like, why does he seem so put off by this being a different Terminator than the one that came back the first two times?
Yeah.
Which, granted, the second one was a different Terminator. And then he has a line, he's like, what, do they just have an assembly line? He goes, yes. Like,
yeah,
that's what I would expect too. Like, it's usually how machines get made.
John's naivety about how this whole thing works, like we know it's not the same Terminator because that guy got melted in steel. Like we know that this isn't the same Terminator as the first movie because that guy was sent to kill you. Like so, they just make one-offs.
The idea that they
like
couldn't
bespoke Terminator models and shit. I mean, it's a slight upgrade, so that maybe that's why it has these hydrogen cores or whatever. But yeah, it's just he's very dense. Or naive to the way that manufacturing works. Like in the future, the robots aren't going to create, there's not artisan Terminator builders that are doing this. It's like we're making a fucking butt ton of these things so they can kill all of the, squishy meat people. That's what that's why we're doing this thing,
Fucking squishy meat people. I don't have a lot else to add here. I feel like if I keep going, I'm just going to either repeat what you already said or repeat what I already said. So let's fire up the grill and
John, I'm going to stop. I'm not ready to fire up the grill because I have one last thing.
Okay.
I'm not going to spoil the movie. I mean, it is 23 years old at this point.
The ending sucks.
The thing with the detonator at the end of the movie, he has the thing in his hand and he's like, we got to go down here. We got to set this detonator, take it down because they're supposed to be in the place And we really haven't talked about any of the things that actually happen other than like the plot part of it. But anyways, he's in the place where Skynet is supposed to be like headquartered or whatever, where he's going to be able to take out all these Skynet machines. He goes in there and he's like, oh, I'm going to set the detonator for 5 minutes. That should be enough time. Bro, you've never been down there. You don't know where you have to go. You don't know how long it's going to take you to get there. You don't know what's going to be in the way to get in your way to get out. So why are you giving yourself 5 minutes? Why? And then when the thing happens in the movie, he just like flips the 9-volt battery out of it or whatever, and that turns it off. Okay, that's cool, whatever. But like, that's so again, naive. Why would you think 5 minutes is going to be enough time for you to get down there, go where you got to go, and get out?
The detonator is technically a machine, right? It's not human.
I mean, is an ice cube maker a machine? Yes. Like, is a flashlight a machine?
So why doesn't the TX just fuck up the detonator? Whatever.
Because it doesn't fit the story, John. She only does that stuff when it fits.
That's true.
The motive of what they're trying to do in that.
We heard a movie was supposed to be
an hour and 49 minutes.
Supposed to be an hour and a half, and we added 29 minutes or 19 minutes to it just to
make sure that we really knew what a movie was supposed to be. Yeah. Okay.
Add some more explosions.
Right.
Then you're in for a big treat, bro, because it's hot dog time.
So I said, let's get this over with. So I guess I'll lead us off here. This is a half a hot dog. Like, at the end of the day, this movie's not terrible. It's not nearly as bad as I remember it being. It's really just kind of a Terminator movie in name with some Terminator-like effects. But if you're going into this looking for the story that we got from the first two movies, this ain't it. Again, I don't know if the from a story or a plot standpoint, if the series rebounds from this, but if you're just going into this looking for a summer popcorn movie, you'll be fine. If you're going into this looking for to build on Terminator 2 or Terminator, you'll be pissed. So buyer beware, I suppose. It's fine enough, but I can see pretty clearly why I only watch this every 20 years or so.
Whose hot dog is this? Huh? Is it yours?
I think the real issue with this movie, honestly, is that it carries so much weight being part of the Terminator franchise. And you kind of just said it. It's carrying all that weight of T2. I don't particularly like it. It feels like a watered down version of T2. It's like they took all the parts of the second movie and they thought like, well, people really love that movie, so we're just going to give them more of that. You know, we're going to give them more of it, and they're going to they're going to try to make the sets bigger and the explosions bigger, and like, we're going to take out this whole city block, whatever. But I don't know. There's so many huge leaps of logic. There's so many plot holes. They forgot any of the soul, if you can call it that, the soul of the second movie. The dynamic between John and the Terminator is so different. It just takes out the things that there was no way it was going to be able to live up to T2. Right. It's so watered down. They do several variations. We didn't even talk about it. They do several variations. It's not even a negative.
Like, living up to Terminator 2 is such a high bar to live up to.
Yeah, it is. So you could do nothing but underwhelm at that point, right? But they do so many variations of I'll be back. You know, they do she'll be back. I'll be back in a few minutes. You know, I gotta take a dump. Be back soon. You know, gone fishing. What, like, just stupid stuff. It really feels like they took an action movie script, they shoved some Terminator stuff into it, and they made a movie. I think there are some nuggets in the movie that are interesting, some things that are fun. It's not a horrible movie by any means. Like, we've watched movies that have been way worse, but it's just it's like a huge disappointment if you were going into this again, because they're following up on a movie that, for an action sci-fi dystopian kind of movie, is pretty perfect. Like, it's pretty close to being perfect. There's not a lot you could change in that movie, and then you come out with this, and it's like, it's not quite like taking a shit in the punch, but it's, you know, it's very hard to live up. I think this one, I'm sorry. I think this one is really,
no, that was fucking put that on the poster. It's not quite taking a shit in the punch. Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines
is for hardcore fans of the series who want to see what happens, regardless of how they get there. Like, you know, it's just kind of dumb, but you're going to figure out how they got to where they get to in Salvation, you know, the movies after this. This is the only Terminator film I haven't seen until now, so that should say something. I think the same for you. Well, you had seen it before, but it had been 20 years. So, yeah, for me, half a hot dog. It's not a horrible movie, but I feel like if you are a huge Terminator fan, you might be able to skip Salvation too, but I feel like it's a tie between which ones are probably the worst. In the Genesis isn't great, but it's not. I haven't seen that in a while, so don't quote me on that.
I was gonna say, I take it back. I have seen Salvation, and I remember liking Salvation more than this.
Yeah, it's just different.
I haven't seen anything past Salvation.
They took a different approach, so it got and
that's fine, and I'm okay with that. So,
and I don't know what the popular consensus is on Dark Fate, but I really, really like Dark Fate, and I might just watch that before we talk about the next movie, whatever that is.
No, that's fair. So, you've been threatening to get that movie on the show at some point too, so I guess we gotta catch up to it.
That's in the 7 or 6 or whatever series, right? Because that's Salvation. Yeah, it's part 7. So whenever we get to Scream 7, we'll do.
I defer to you. Oh, we got ways to go.
Halloween
I don't
7.
Watch that movie again either. That one's not that far off.
Okay, well there you go.
Yeah. Anything else here as we wrap up on Terminator 3?
April and the 3.
Shit in the punch bowl?
No. That's all I got, really. I mean, you can only complain so much, I try to be a light.
I don't know.
Try to be a light in this world,
We're a couple hundred episodes in and we're still finding things to complain about. If you'd like to listen to any of those episodes, you can go find all of them at crap.town. That's our site. Old, new, upcoming, they're all on there, as well as an option to leave feedback. You can go to yourunpodcast.com. That's the network that we're part of. All of our episodes are available there as well. And while you're there, please check out one of the other great shows on the You Run Podcast Network as well. We have a Patreon now. We are a crowd-supported show. Anyone who has already donated or joined our Patreon, thank you for that. We appreciate you. If you'd like to join, we have a couple different tiers with different things you can get out of it. So please do check it out. It's patreon.com/DeweyPodmonster. What else we got going on? Batch Brewing. We have Franks and Steins coming up on the 16th this month. We're going to be showing one of Sean's favorites. We're going to be showing Fright Night, so that will be a good time. And of course, we're on social media all over the place at Dewey Podmonster, with the exception of Blue Sky, where we are at crap.town. And I'm probably forgetting something. That's why Sean's here, amongst many other reasons. Sean, fill people in on whatever I forgot.
The only reason I'm here is to tell John what he forgot. So I just want to mention, like, the Patreon thing. Again, thanks so much for everybody that's already joined. We are still talking about ways to like enhance it and add new things to it. So it's, it's always a good thing. If you like the show, it's a great way to support the show. I also want to say that, everything we talked about earlier in the show will be linked in the show notes. We try to make everything free if we can. It's impossible to make everything free, but we try to make as much as we can free. It's a great way to support the show. If you click the links that are not free, and those will say Amazon after it. If you click those links, you go to the page, to Amazon's page for whatever it is. You can buy anything else. You want to buy toilet paper for your house, I don't know, feather dusters, or I don't know, teledildonics, or whatever you want to buy. You can do all that stuff. We get a small cut of that. And guess what? It's just coming out of Bezos's pocket. So he can afford to give us a couple pennies every here and there. But yeah, other than that, if you want to check me out personally, I am on Blue Sky exclusively. I am at internalbleeding.crap.town. I post every once in a while. You might be surprised at what I post. You might not be surprised at what I post. I don't know. Maybe you know me. Maybe you don't. So yeah, you can check me out there. John, back to you.
That's it for this week. Swell up, Butthorns. We'll be back next week with more April and the 3.
Bird season's over, Butthorn.
You're staring at me like I'm supposed to say something else.
Titanic 2. 100th anniversary of the original voyage, a modern luxury liner christened Titanic 2. Why would you do that to yourself? Why would you call the boat Titanic 2? Follows the path of its namesake, but when a tsunami hurls an iceberg into the new ship's path, the passengers and crew must fight
the
to
most
avoid.
likely of scenarios.
I mean, who would have thunk it? You couldn't bet, you couldn't put money on that.
Tsunami a tropical storm system, or is that just me?
It got that tropical
I was under
ice.
the impression
It's that tropical ice.
I was going to say, I thought a tsunami was basically a hurricane, but in a different ocean.
Yeah, I thought
tsunami
was like a tidal wave too. It carried a tidal wave.
I think it has that.
Typhoon is the rain. But anyways, the passengers and crew must fight to avoid a similar fate. This gets a 1.7 out of 10, 14,000 ratings. This has Brooke Burns, Bruce Davison, who is best known to me. Like, I always think of him as the senator in the original X-Men movies that like turns into the mutant that like melts or whatever. The white-haired guy.
Yeah.
We had time to kill before our Airbnb. We had to leave, and we had like 6 hours before we had to be at the airport. And we just sat and watched this piece of shit. It was so fucking like N64 graphics.
Stupid.
Yeah. N64 graphics, helicopters, and it was bad. Real bad. Real bad.
I can't wait to stumble into it. So
It was on YouTube for free.
oh, good. Just what I fucking need.